Jeff Taylor and his wife Amy are taking a long road trip across the country from Boston to San Diego. They drive their Jeep, enjoying the warm, sunny weather. The surrounding landscape gradually changes from green meadows and cityscapes to vast desert plains stretching to the horizon. On one stretch of highway, their car almost collides with a ragged pickup truck, which suddenly finds itself in their lane. Jeff spins the steering wheel sharply, avoiding the collision, and the car backs into the right direction. His heart is racing, but he tries to pull himself together. Amy is startled too, but quickly comes to her senses, making a remark about how they should be more careful. They continue on their way and soon decide to stop at a small gas station to take a break, fill up the tank, and grab a bite to eat. When they get out of the car, the driver of that particular pickup truck immediately approaches them, a stocky man with a tanned face and a stern look. He is annoyed and immediately starts a conversation filled with angry recriminations. He accuses Jeff of sloppy driving and is rude, trying to provoke him. Jeff doesn't want a conflict and tries to stay calm, but the man doesn't stop, raising his voice and gesturing his indignation. Local visitors to the gas station, interested in what's going on, have already begun to gather around. Amy, noticing the heated situation, decides to intervene, politely persuading Jeff not to respond to the provocation and just leave. Jeff reluctantly agrees, gets behind the wheel, and they leave the gas station. He is angry about the situation, but what bothers him the most is how aggressively this stranger has behaved. A few miles down the road, in the middle of a desert landscape, their car suddenly stalls. Jeff is surprised because the car shouldn't have been a problem. He gets out of the car, lifts the hood, and examines the engine. At first glance, nothing is broken. Amy is worried, looking around the road for help. Jeff tries starting the engine again, but attempts are unsuccessful. There is nothing but endless highway, sultry sunshine, and not a single car on the horizon. A few minutes later, a large truck pulls up next to them. A male driver gets out of the cab. He offers to help and says he can give Amy a ride to the nearest diner from where she can call a tow truck. They look at each other, not knowing if they should trust this man, but there is no other choice. Jeff agrees, helps Amy into the cab of the truck, and she drives off, waving to him as the truck disappears over the horizon. Jeff inspects the engine again and suddenly notices the strange battery terminals are disconnected. He quickly plugs them back in, tries to start the engine, and the car starts with no problem. He catches his breath. Someone disconnected the battery on purpose. This is too strange a coincidence. He quickly closes the hood and rushes to the diner, hoping to find his wife there. When he gets to the diner, Jeff runs inside and looks around. A few customers are sitting at tables. A waitress is wiping down the counter, but Amy is nowhere to be seen. He approaches the woman behind the counter and asks if his wife has come in here. She shakes her head in surprise and replies that she hasn't seen anyone like that. Jeff feels panic rising inside him. He walks outside, circling the road. In the distance, he spots the same truck. Its driver is calmly driving down the highway as if nothing had happened. Jeff rushes onto the road, waving his arms, urging him to stop. The truck brakes sharply. Jeff runs up to the cab, grabs the door handle, and demands to know where Amy is. The driver looks at him bewildered and claims he's never seen him before and doesn't know what he's talking about. Jeff catches his breath. He put Amy in that truck himself. This can't be true. He repeats his question, but the driver calmly shrugs, claiming he's never met him or his wife. Jeff is confused. He doesn't understand what's going on, but he senses that something terrible has happened. At that moment, a patrol car drives by. Jeff rushes toward it, waving his arms, attracting the sheriff's attention. The policeman gets out, listens to his story, and offers to inspect the truck. They open the back compartment, but it's empty. No sign that would indicate Amy's presence. The sheriff asks a few questions, looks at Jeff questioningly, and advises him to drive to the nearest town and talk to a deputy. He also allows the truck driver to continue on his way. Jeff is utterly desperate. He watches the truck drive away and feels helpless, but he has no intention of giving up. He goes into town to report Amy missing to the police. At the station, they ask him questions and record his statement, but everything he says sounds like a meaningless narrative. He has no evidence, no witnesses. The cops are clearly in no hurry to help him and don't believe his story. Left with no help, Jeff decides to act on his own. He returns to the highway and starts looking for traces of his wife again. After a while, he stumbles upon the same shabby pickup truck, with the driver of which they had a conflict at the gas station. A gut feeling tells him that this man might be involved. He follows him cautiously, watching his movements. At one point, he sees a pickup truck drive onto the private property of a small farm surrounded by a high fence. Jeff decides to break in to find evidence. He sneaks through the fence, moving cautiously around the property. In one of the barns, he discovers his wife's car. Inside is her purse. His heart is racing. This confirms his worst fears. He finds a phone and calls the police, but at that moment he is spotted. Several men surround him, cutting off his escape routes. A tense fight ensues. Jeff tries to break free, but is thrown to the ground and tied up. He manages to escape only through sheer ingenuity. He takes advantage of the moment when one of the kidnappers is distracted, knocks him down and rushes to the car, starts the engine and takes off, pushing the gas pedal to the floor. He is pursued, but he maneuvers between cars, evading the chase. Eventually, after a long standoff, he manages to rescue Amy. They escape together, leaving the sinister place. When they are finally safe, they both realize that they have experienced a real nightmare. Jeff and Amy, scarred and scared but alive, they survived a nightmare that changed their lives forever. They realized how much they love each other and how important it is to fight for their love until the end. They drive away, leaving behind a deserted highway that changed their lives forever.